How's it going, YouTube? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another video, and today it's going to be Game Week 12 talk. We're going to see how I did in Game Week 11. We're also going to see the state of my team going into Game Week 12, as well as our predictions for last week and how we did. So let's see how we did. So, we have the team up on the screen there. Got the graphics updated on the side this time. I didn't forget. So yeah, we did pretty good. We got 84 points in total. The defense smashed it this game week. Did really well. Could have even been slightly better, as I had a 9-point goalkeeper on the bench, but we played them in pairs, so beggars can't always be choosers, right? So we got pretty much the best possible lineup we had out there. So I have my predictions off on the side, so we will actually take a look at that first in terms of the scores, and then we'll go back and reference the team. So these were the scores for Game Week 11. Just gonna bring the old tweet across here. So I said that Man United would win 2-1. They disappointed me, and they won, or they lost 1-0. Arsenal and Wolves was a draw, so we got that wrong as well. I said it would be an Arsenal win, thinking the Wolves would be rubbish. Apparently they're turning the screw. Liverpool, they won, so that's 1 point there for the result. I almost got the score right. I said Brighton would beat Norwich 2-0. They did, so we get 3 points for that, for the exact score. I said Man City would beat Southampton 5-0. Well, they almost lost the damn game, so yeah, just like Liverpool. They won 2-1, so I got the result right, so that means a point there. Sheffield United, I said it would be 1-1 with Burnley. They actually ended up winning 3-0, so I got the result completely wrong there. West Ham should have beaten Newcastle 2-0, or should have won. They were rubbish that day, so yeah. Chelsea 3-1 over Watford. It ended up being 2-1, so I was close there. Leicester, I said 3-1 over Crystal Palace. They won 2-0, so I get a point right for the Chelsea and the Leicester result. I said it'd be a draw between Spurs and Tottenham, so I get a point for the result there. So 8 points overall, getting one correct result right. In terms of the clean sheets, Brighton got a clean sheet. Goalkeeper, very good there. So we got we need a different color pen here. Custom pen. Yes, let's go with the lime. So we got that right there. We got the clean sheet right there. Cancelo didn't even play, so that was a bit disappointing. Iosi Perez didn't do anything in the Leicester game, although he looked lively. And West Ham, I don't believe Haller did anything. Oh, he got an assist, so we got that right. We got that right there. So 3 out of 5 on the old predictions there. So that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Don't need this anymore. So yeah, probably the highlights of the week was obviously Newcastle picking up a win, an unlikely win versus West Ham. Spurs and Everton just being bad in general. Everton actually getting quite fortunate with the win because Son shouldn't have been sent off, even though his tackle did result to Andre Gomez ultimately what looked to be breaking his ankle. But it wasn't actually his collision that caused the break. It was the collision after the fact with, I believe it was Serge Aurier. Chelsea also hanging on versus Watford. Brighton still doing decently at home. Liverpool and Man City both clawing their way back, getting the victory. Arsenal continuing their mediocre run of form. And people are now speculating, how long does Unai Emery have? How long does he have? And especially this week, they got a big test in Leicester on the Saturday evening game, or afternoon game, depending on where you are in the world. So yeah, it could be the last straw, as it were. United, you know, obviously having a lot of possession versus Bournemouth, with Bournemouth just doing what they do best at home, just playing solid, not giving many openings, and United not very good at breaking teams down. So even though United midweek was able to put 3 past the team that was probably going to lose to the League 2 team, but you know, it's about consistency. And Martial being back definitely changes the way United plays, for sure. Having just Rashford and Dan James with nobody else, team doesn't look like they know what they're doing. Martial in there, he has obviously that individual brilliance where he can basically pull teammates in and do things. Also, I believe Scott McTominay may be injured for the game this week versus Brighton, so that could be a big miss there. Risky playing a bunch of the starters, but we'll have to see how that goes. City and Liverpool are obviously going to look to go at each other this week, obviously being in like a top 2 derby, as it were. It's not really a derby, it's more of a rival match, but could decide the league. Liverpool winning it could mean curtains for Man City, and would need some help elsewhere. City winning it makes things a whole new ball game, and City haven't won, I believe, at Anfield since 2000. It's like mid 2000s, like 2006, I think. I want to say, somewhere in there. I have to get that stat checked out. But it's been a long time since City have won at Anfield. We also have the likes of Brighton are playing United. They are playing well at home. United obviously at home this time, but yeah, it's still scary. Like a team like Brighton, who are gonna they're actually playing a little bit. They know when to defend, when to attack, and it seems like under this new management that they're doing quite well. They're not just the team that's going to stick 11 men behind the ball and just not try to score at all. They're actually going to try to play football, which may be at United's advantage. Them trying to come out of their shell may make it easy for United to do well. So let's go back up to what were the stars of the team here. So we had Henderson versus was it Burnley? Was Burnley, yes. So we had our Sheffield United boys against Burnley. Lundstrom obviously doing amazing things, getting 2 goals. Henderson keeping a clean sheet, obviously getting a bonus here. Lundstrom has just been absolutely amazing for his price point. Started at 4 million, he's now 4.8. You know, what more can you ask for? A mispositioned player, in any case, no matter how good they are typically quite good when they score. Even if he didn't get a brace, let's say he just got a clean sheet, he was still an original 4 million defender that's playing in midfield that can score. So it's always good. Pereira getting a clean sheet, Soyuncu getting a clean sheet, some bonus points, and a goal as well to add to that. Soyuncu's obviously been quite good since we've brought him in. He's gotten us 2 clean sheets, a bonus point, and a goal. So can't really complain there. Leicester doing really well. Hudson-Odoi coming off the bench again. That had us a bit worried. So we've gone and we've dispatched him. We'll see. We'll see that in our team as well. I just think that he's going to be swapping in and out with Pulisic. So that's just something we don't want. We want the Mounts, we want the Abrahams to be in there. Now, if Hudson-Odoi goes and scores 2 against Crystal Palace, okay, that kind of sucks, but we want people that we know are not going to get hooked after 60 minutes unless the team is playing really well, or players that are going to stay on for the longest period of time and are going to do well. And I think the player that we brought in is going to do just that, even in the tougher fixtures. Mason Mount obviously only getting 1 point, but Tammy Abraham getting us a goal, which was quite nice. Came off and he got us our 3 bonus points, so doing quite well there. De Bruyne and City, obviously Sterling and De Bruyne not getting anything. Aguero did, which is kind of unfortunate, but you can't always get the captain right. I don't think I've gotten captain right for a couple weeks now, so we're looking to hopefully get a nice one this week. Mane obviously getting a goal in the dying moments after getting a yellow card early for diving. So yeah, Mane salvaging the week for himself. He also picked up some bonus points as well, all 3 of them. And he also got the assist on the first goal for Robertson as well. So quite nice there. And then Jamie Vardy just getting the goal, doing what he's doing best. So yeah, he's on fire. Jamie Vardy, what some might say. He's definitely on fire. And then obviously Riyad Ramsdale, could have had him instead of Henderson, but it's a 3-point difference, and you know, it's not the end of the world. Rico obviously getting a clean sheet as well because Ramsdale got a clean sheet. And then we had Greenwood and Engels, who we brought in last week over Bolly. Him just getting obviously the 1 point because they conceded to Liverpool. So let's go on to this week's fixtures. So let's bring over the old notepad. Got the notepad here. I've already done my players beforehand, so we can just discuss those after that. For the differential slash my players of the week, who I think could do well. So Norwich versus Watford. Norwich struggling quite a lot. Watford are in the bottom 3. They need to kind of get themselves out of that, and these are the games that they're going to have to start winning. And I think Watford will win. I think they will win 2-1. I think both teams need a win. So I just seem to edge it to Watford because they seem to play a lot better versus Chelsea. They seem to hold their own somewhat, but Chelsea in the end was just a bit too much for them, even with Chelsea's defense being a bit shaky at times. Speaking of Chelsea, they are at home to Crystal Palace. I think Chelsea will continue their good form. Crystal Palace obviously coming off a defeat, not being able to score against Leicester. But Crystal Palace are good away from home. They are good away from home. I just think Chelsea will jump out to an early lead and kind of extend that. But I do think that Chelsea will concede, so I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory for Chelsea. West Ham and Burnley both coming off defeats. Burnley is back at home. I think they'll do better. I think West Ham is slowly starting to show inconsistencies in their form. I think Burnley will get back to winning ways, and I think Burnley will win this game 2-1. Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Newcastle coming off a great win versus West Ham, but I think Bournemouth, with good form, are going to put Newcastle away quite easily. I think 2-0 is a fair scoreline for Bournemouth over Newcastle, even though Newcastle is at home. Southampton versus Everton. Now this is a tough one to call because both teams are pretty bad. Southampton bouncing back and giving a respectable performance against City over the weekend. I think both teams are pretty bad, honestly. Both teams leak goals very easily. I just think it's just going to probably be a 1-1 draw. Both teams need a win to get themselves going again. Both managers under a lot of pressure. Could be on their way out as well, especially the likes of Everton manager Marco Silva. So we're gonna have to look and see how that kind of pans out. Tottenham versus Sheffield United. Now Tottenham getting a good result midweek in the Champions League. However, Sheffield United are on fire. I don't think it's going to be an easy road for Spurs. They are at home, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Sheffield United can actually pull a result out of this one. I think this could be a 1-1 draw because Tottenham's league form has been absolutely terrible. Leicester versus Arsenal. I think Leicester should win this with no problem. I think they will. Both teams will concede, but I think Leicester just will have too much firepower for Arsenal, as Arsenal's defense is awful, especially away from home. I can see Leicester winning this one 3-1. It's all based on just form as well. And in midweek as well, Arsenal was just bad. Unai Emery's making decisions that is just further giving reasonings as to why people are turning on him now. So it just makes the most sense for a Leicester win, especially with how good Jamie Vardy is. And Jamie Vardy's record against the top 6 teams is insane. Manchester United versus Brighton. Now Brighton are very good. They're obviously worse away from home. I just think that United, could bounce back here. I think potentially a clean sheet, maybe, but you know, Brighton, they find ways to score. I think United, a 2-1 for United, I think, is probably the likely outcome here. If not, it'll be a 1-1, but a 2-1 is probably more reasonable. I'll give the edge to United here. Wolves versus Aston Villa. I think that Wolves, you know, being at home, they're quite strong. Aston Villa don't really care where they play. They're kind of just doing well on their own right. I think this could be a decently scoring draw, so I'm going to go with a 2-2 actually. And then we have Liverpool versus Man City. Now this is obviously the game of the week. The battle for the Premier League title, as it were. If Liverpool win, it's smooth sailing. If Liverpool lose, it makes everything a whole new ball game. Like I said, Man City have not won at Anfield for a very long time. City are going to be looking to play their best team. Oh, excuse me. Getting the yawn out. Well, we have to get those out before the game on Sunday for sure. Got to be wide and awake to witness the two titans, as it were, clashing. So we got Liverpool. You know, they're going to have Fabinho back in, so their stability is going to be back in there. Fabinho wasn't played last week because of he has one yellow card away from being suspended, so they didn't risk him at all. City still having a bit of a mix-up down the back. It's a very tough one to call. I just think Anfield is just going to be just that slight bit too much for City. Although being a United fan, I don't want Liverpool to win the league, and I'd rather City win it. As bad as that also hurts to say, I think Liverpool are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it by a scoreline of 2-1. So those are my predictions. So Watford with a 2-1 win over Norwich, Chelsea with a 3-1 win over Crystal Palace, Burnley with a 2-1 win over West Ham, Bournemouth with an away win over Newcastle 2-0, Everton and Southampton, Tottenham and Sheffield all to draw 1-1, Leicester to get a home victory over Arsenal 3-1, Man United to get a win just to come back in the league 2-1 over Brighton, a 2-2 between Wolves and Aston Villa, going to be a very entertaining game, that one to watch, and then Liverpool just edges out Man City 2-1. And then we got our picks here. So based on my results, I think clean sheet, goalkeeper, and defender all going to be Bournemouth oriented. I just don't think Newcastle can score on a consistent basis. They probably scored all their goals for the next 3 weeks against West Ham. So clean sheet to Bournemouth. Goalkeeper is going to be Ramsdale, as I'm going to be playing him this week, and Rico, who I'm also going to be playing as well. In midfield, I think Maddison is going to be the straw that stirs the drink versus Arsenal. I think it's going to be up to him to unlock a very easy Arsenal defense, feeding the likes of Jamie Vardy, feeding the likes of Iosi Perez, you know, and it should be fairly straightforward for Leicester in that regard. And then forward, I've actually picked Marcus Rashford. Now, he's gotten a lot of scrutiny recently. In Europa League, got in a lot of positions, missed a lot of chances, but did end up getting his goal. My thing is that eventually, if you keep getting into those positions, that's what we've been wanting as United fans, is a forward, whether it be a winger or a central number 9, getting into positions where they can score. Then it's just a matter of putting them away. Getting into the position is the more intelligent thing. Scoring is just going to be second nature at some point. You know, sometimes you have to create things out of nothing, but if you get a good delivery, if you get into the position where you have a chance to score, it's just a matter of putting them away. So, and I saw that Rashford was getting into these positions. Yes, he botched up the finishes and should have probably had a hat trick in midweek, but it was against a bad team. It's just taking that and translating it into getting in those positions all the time, making the right run, making the right decision, knowing when to time the run, knowing when to do basically a double run. So going behind the defender, then swing in front if you know it's going to be a low cross, you know, those sorts of things. And Martial being back in the team is going to be quite key to that. So I think Rashford will help United to a victory this week. along with the likes of James Maddison getting his team going for Leicester, and then Bournemouth just locking it down versus Newcastle. So we're going to move this across. So that's it for those this week, and this is what the team is kind of set up to look like for the week. So I'm debating currently whether to put in Lundstrom or Soyuncu over the likes of Engels. It's a tough decision, but I think that, you know, given that Wolves will probably score. You know, I've also said that Sheffield United will get conceded on, and I think that Leicester will get conceded on. It's no real choice here. So the reason I've definitely gone with the double Bournemouth here with Ramsdale and Rico, because I think that they're going to get a clean sheet, no problem. Pereira, he's the more likely of the two of him and Soyuncu to get an attacking return, even though Soyuncu got himself a goal. But that's obviously not going to come very, you know, as often. I think that there's a chance that just Aston Villa just grind this one out. They just get that, you know, that 1-0 win maybe. But I think the most likely result is a scoring draw. And if I'm going to do that, then maybe I just proceed with Lundstrom, if that's the case, because if it is going to be, you know, each team conceding, Lundstrom is the most likely to score out of all the defenders. So I think I should put Lundstrom in. I think is how I should do it. And then in terms of defenders, after the fact, I think Soyuncu over Engels is kind of a coin flip there. I think I'll put Engels in front, actually. We'll put Engels in front, and we'll keep that as the team. We gotta believe in John Lundstrom. We gotta believe in him. Is his first name John? Pretty sure it's John. Yeah, John Lundstrom. He's Tottenham have just been bad in the league, so I guess it's just one of those things where it's like any one of those three defenders could easily keep a clean sheet, but they can also concede 4, like against their teams. Like, so it just all depends. It just all really depends. So we'll have to see. Spurs have been very lackluster in the creative department in the league. Arsenal, we know that they can score. Wolves, we know that they always find at least a goal. But Sheffield United have been playing really well. Their most recent result, Sheffield United, they got they won against Arsenal. Like, away from home, they've gotten draw, clean sheet draw, 2-0 win, scoring draw. You know, so they haven't lost away from home. So it's always, you know, a good sign in that regard. In terms of what Aston Villa have done, so Aston Villa are away from home as well. Away from home, okay, they lost to City, fair play. Smacked Norwich, although they didn't keep a clean sheet. Should have probably beaten Arsenal. Lost to Crystal Palace, lost to Spurs. So their away form isn't great. It's their home form that's slightly better, except for the one outlier of the Norwich away. And then if we look at Leicester's home form, clean sheet draw versus Wolves, 3-1 win over Bournemouth, 2-1 win over Spurs, 5-0 smacking of Newcastle, 2-1 win over Burnley. So maybe Soyuncu's the one to go for, although it's probably better to put Soyuncu there, I think, based on historical results. That's what we're just gonna go with. And then in terms of the transfers, you can see that we brought in McGinn here. We got him in at 5.8. And I think he's going to do good things for our team. I think he's going to do good things. We're going to have him in for the Wolves game, because he could be one of those guys that pops up and scores. We'll have him definitely in for the Newcastle home game. They should do quite well there. I don't think he will. I mean, we can still play him against Man United and Chelsea. I mean, Aston Villa, very tough team. They are a very tough team. Chelsea can concede goals, and then this run of fixtures is what we're looking for over the Christmas period. He's going to be one of those guys, along with the likes of Grealish when he's fit, where they'll play game in, game out, and we know they're going to be in the squad, which is why we picked him up and dropped Hudson-Odoi, because Hudson-Odoi during this period could be like Pulisic one game, him the next game, and it could be Pulisic scoring and he's not. So, you know, we want to have some consistency in there. We know Mount and Abraham will play most games, assuming they're not injured. This flag on Mount as well is also nothing to worry about. They said that he's in the squad, so which is good to hear, and that's why we set up our bench quite nicely. So yeah, it was just a straight swap. McGinn in for Hudson-Odoi. If Hudson-Odoi goes and scores against Palace, well then that kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. So, how we're setting up the team is we're gonna have the Bournemouth duo, Rico and Ramsdale versus Newcastle away. We're gonna have Pereira in over Soyuncu, with Soyuncu as our first sub, because Pereira is more likely to get an attacking return, even though he hasn't done so for us already, but he has got us 2 clean sheets. As we've gone over our logic, we've decided to put in Lundstrom over Soyuncu or Engels, just because they have not lost away from home, and they are quite good against a poor Spurs side in the league. We brought in McGinn instead of Hudson-Odoi to play versus Wolves. He's going to be a more consistent player for us. He's obviously cheaper than Odoi by 0.2 million. We got obviously the City duo, De Bruyne and Sterling, with Mane playing as well. They're going to be going against each other. And then we have the Chelsea front 2, Mount and Abraham, with Abraham as our vice captain and Vardy as our captain, because his record versus the top 6 teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Spurs, Manchester City, and Liverpool, those 6 he has a very good record, so we're going to captain him for sure, and he's on fire, which makes it even more likely that he's going to score against a team like Arsenal, whose defense is, in all honesty, very slow, without the likes of, or at least centrally, very slow. They're prone to making mistakes with the likes of David Luiz and Socrates. They love themselves a little yellow card, excuse me. So yeah, I think Vardy captain makes the most sense for this week. So we're going to go with that. And then on the bench, we obviously have Dean Henderson. He's going up against Tottenham, but they'll probably concede. And Ramsdale's a lot better pick here. We got the nice rotation going. So on should be putting over Engels. And then we have Greenwood, who's probably not going to play. He may get 1 point, but we put him down the end because he's the least likely to get points for the most part. Who knows? He may start. We'll have to see. So, and then in terms of just kind of looking ahead, what are we looking to change? Not really too much, honestly. I mean, the Christmas period, if we're just looking, you know, after the international break, Christmas period, a lot of games coming thick and fast. We know Ramsdale's going to play games. We know Pereira's going to play games. We know Lundstrom, De Bruyne, Sterling, Mane, Vardy, Abraham, Mount, McGinn, all these types of players, they're going to be playing the majority of games, even with rotation risk. You know, Vardy, only real striker that Leicester has. Abraham, yeah, he may get rotated for Batshuayi 1 game, but he's their guy. Mason Mount, main creator in midfield. De Bruyne, best player potentially in the Premier League. Sterling, best player potentially in the Premier League. Mane, best player potentially in the Premier League. You have to play these players during this period. Lundstrom, instrumental to Sheffield United's midfield and has really grown into the team. As a lot of Sheffield United fans would kind of thought, yeah, you know, maybe is he good, is he not? And then he's obviously shown that he's quite the player. Pereira, one of the best fullbacks in the league. McGinn, a linchpin to the Aston Villa midfield. Rico, cementing his place in the back line. You know, these sorts of players is what we want. We want the most consistent, most appearances per player, because that means more points overall. For the most part. Yeah, you can get the odd person where, let's say Hudson-Odoi as an example, you know, he gets rotated in for a game, he scores a brace, and then doesn't play for 2 games. You know, he basically averages 2/3 of a goal over those 3 games, and that's decent return for somebody who's 6 million. You know, getting effectively a goal in 2 out of the 3 games. So it's quite it depends on how you kind of skew it, but we want the most consistent players. And then lastly, just to kind of touch on our we're going to look at our game week history. So we originally started off around the 250k mark, went down a little bit, then kind of spiked back up, had a really bad couple of weeks, kind of fluctuated in and around the 500,000, and then we kind of got our team together here, and then we've dropped way down, and now we're inside the top 50k, well inside the top 50k. So we're just looking to have the team continue that form. And I think with this week, it's going to be hard to put up a decent score. I don't think, as you saw with my predictions, there's going to be much clean sheets. The only likely clean sheet could be Bournemouth, Newcastle, potentially. Chelsea, maybe. Could be a clean sheet in this game, maybe. Burnley maybe keeping a clean sheet versus West Ham. But not really much else. You can see the other teams probably likely scoring. Brighton and United will probably concede 1 each. City and Liverpool will probably concede 1 each. Aston Villa, Wolves most likely will concede 1 each, because Wolves find a way to score and Aston Villa find a way to score. So it's going to be a low scoring week. I think the average score will be a lot lower than was last week, because what was the average score last week? 53. I think it's going to be around the 40ish mark, and we just need to make sure that we keep our team in good shape, and hopefully we can get the captaincy right with Vardy. I think Vardy will get us a nice goal, and yeah, hopefully we can go from there. So that's going to do it for this week's video. Please make sure to follow the channel. Please make sure to go check out the YouTube channel as well, where we're going to be posting this video after the fact. All the links are in the description below. So yeah, make sure to keep comments on the video, keep it interactive, and wherever you are in the world, have a good day, have a good night, have a good FPL week, and we'll see you next time. Take care.